Good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome to Love Bay Radio. Family, how are you doing? We are glad to be here. We got royalty in the building today. You are watching the Champions Table. Thank you for joining us. We are having a great, and always we have an intentional conversation today. And every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Thank you for joining us. And we got somebody special, no stranger to this to Love Bay Radio, but we have a special guest today. I will introduce them. So, who is Mr. Prince Aryee? True leadership isn't just about success; it's about impact, and it's about being the light that guides others towards growth, opportunity, and purpose. With over 6 years of banking experience in various roles, Prince Aryee, I hope I'm saying that right, has built a career rooted in leadership, financial expertise, and community impact. Currently serving in a management position, he understands the power of strategic decision making and mentorship in shaping the next generation of leaders. Beyond the corporate world, Prince Aryee is a highly sought after keynote speaker and multimedia expert who has worked with over 500 small businesses, influencers, and professionals across Canada. His passion for storytelling and digital media has helped entrepreneurs amplify their brands and make a lasting impact in their industries. As a husband, father, and man devoted to his walk with Christ, Prince Aryee is deeply committed to service, integrity, and uplifting those around him. His faith fuels his mission to inspire and empower young people, ensuring they have the resources and opportunities to succeed. Today, Prince Aryee will share his insight on leadership, financial empowerment, and the importance of investing in education and uplifting. His message is clear. When we equip young minds with the right tools, we unlock a future full of possibilities. And by choosing to be the light, we illuminate the path for others to follow. And as we say every time we start, men talk, women talk, but the truth can't lie and the truth will set you free. Please welcome me in joining. Join me in welcoming Mr. Prince Aryee. Welcome.
Thank you so much for
Let me
having
make
me.
sure I'm saying that correctly, man.
Yeah, you sound good, man. You sound good.
Okay, I'm making sure I'm saying that correctly. Don't want to mess up royalty's name. You know what I'm saying?
It's such an honor to be invited back on this show. Like honestly, Love Bay is family. And the whole goal and purpose behind Love Bay has always been something that has motivated me to be better and to push me towards that. So thank you so much for having me once again. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for being here, man. How you doing first and foremost, man?
You know what? I am so blessed, and intros usually get me awkward. But, as I was listening, it really resonated with me. It's something that I put together myself as well, right? And just ensuring that and knowing that the message or my purpose is shown every single time that people hear stuff like this. And I always say this, that titles and all of those things, they just describe what we do as people, right? But our identity and who we are is what defines us in general, right? So it's bigger than being in banking. It's bigger than being a storyteller. But I strongly believe that, God has called me to be a vessel to help people transform their lives into better states. So once again, thank you so much for having me. And it's a pleasure.
Awesome, man. I mean, you're already answering the first question, man, because I was going to ask you, so who is Mr. Prince Aryee, man? Tell us, who are you, man?
It's an interesting question, but in the forefront of who I am, first of all, I'm a husband, a devoted husband to my beautiful wife. I'm a father of two beautiful children, but most importantly, I'm a man of faith. And I think that is where my core values really come from, right? Professionally, just like you mentioned, I've been in banking for over 6 years, in various roles and multiple organizations as well. And outside of banking as well, I've had the opportunity to tell stories with so many different businesses in the digital space, and even having the privilege to shoot with corporate organizations that it blows my mind every single time I talk about some of these opportunities. But I give all the glory to God once again. But, beyond all of that, I see myself as someone who is called to inspire and to transform, just like I said, whether that's in business, whether that's in, being in the creative space, or even personal growth. And my family being my first ministry, showing my family, my wife and my children that, hey, listen, like, we have a bigger purpose than just being on earth, right? So that, like, in the core, that's just who I am. And I hope that answered that for you.
Definitely resonates, man. So here to inspire, not just here on earth, but for the future and for future generations. I like that. I like that, man. So let me ask you this, man. What are some of the greatest lessons you've learned as a leader?
Do you know what? I would say this. I think some of the greatest lessons I learned, I didn't even learn them as a leader.
Yeah.
I learned them as a regular human being that was just humble enough to listen to people that were higher up than me. And some of these people that we consider higher up were even younger than me, but I was humble enough to listen to them. And some of these things that I got were literally directly from, humility and listening to these people. But one of the best things that I ever heard, which stuck with me, it's been years since this thing has been with me. And, one of my mentors back 6-7 years ago, he mentioned that true leadership isn't measured on, how high we climb, whatever ladder it is, whether it's the corporate ladder, whether it's the financial ladder, whatever the ladder is. True leadership isn't measured by how high we climb, but it's measured by how many people rise because of us. You know what I mean? And that is also part of how I live my life today. Whatever I do and everything that I do, I'm like, hey, I ask myself this question constantly. Who else is rising with me in this journey that I'm on? In my current state, in my family, in my workplace, who else is rising with me on the ladder? And I think that's what really defines success. One of the things that I tell my team all the time at work, and one of them laughed when I told him that when he first joined the organization, and I told him, hey, listen, when a new client walks in and does not know who I am, nobody should know that I'm one of the managers in the room. Every single one of you guys should be equipped and should be empowered enough to stand and own it like it's yours. So, that's one of the greatest lessons that I learned. But outside of that, like, leadership in general is service. It's service to people. It's service to everyone, right? And that's the core of leadership. Leadership is not, and sometimes I tell them not to call me boss. I hate the word boss because I'm not a boss. I'm a leader. I'm a communicator. I'm someone that wants to work with you. Bosses say, do this, do that, do that. That is not who I am. I'm a partner with you in whatever journey you're on, right? So leadership is service, and my role in this service industry that we're in is to uplift you and to make sure that you come up higher even more than me. So that's one. But, two, the second lesson that I would say is that consistency will beat talent every single time. And it's proven. It's proven in so many different ways, even in my personal life, right? Being consistent in whatever you're doing would beat talent every single time. There are talented people out there that are lazy. But if you wake up every single day and show up and be your best self, one of the best things that, when I met my wife, one of the things that she always told me, which she got from her mother as well, was that be the best that you can be. And if you go on my website, you'll see it on my website as well. So every single time we wake up, every single morning we step out of our doors, we want to be the best that we can be. And being consistent at that, it beats talent every single time. It's all about showing up. And showing up even when it's hard. There are times where you don't want to wake up, but I still wake up and I push through every single day. There are times where I don't want to do anything, but I still have to push through every day. And those little steps that I take every single day has pushed me forward in whatever I'm doing. And the final thing that I would say is that vision without executing is literally just a dream. And anybody could dream. That's just what it is. So vision without execution is a dream. It's just a dream. And so I've learned not to just dream. I've learned not to just have greater visions, but I've also learned to put my foot on the pedal when it comes to the gas, and to make sure that things are moving on, even when it's not as fast as I want it to be. I still ensure that I'm executing small by small every single time I step out. So those are some of the main lessons that I've gotten in life so far, and I think those core things have been keeping me in my journey so far. So yeah.
You dropping some gems, brother. Dropping some gems, man. I hope everybody's taking in some of these gems, man. That's real good. That's real good. All right, let's get into. I want to ask you, man, who were some of your role models or mentors that contributed to your success? Role models or mentors, man, because I know we all have them.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I've been so blessed. Like growing up, even I would say, you know what, my father was one of the best mentors or even role models that I ever had. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not a perfect man, by no means, right? But you know, the model of life that he left for us has been, you know, our foundation growing up for all my siblings. Like it's one of those where, like, one of the things that my father used to do at night, whenever the ladies were sleeping and they were enjoying their night, he would wake up all the boys at night and he would bring us to the living room and we sit down and we talk about men stuff. Now, I was very young at that time. I didn't understand what he was talking about. Sometimes I was like, why would you wake me up out of my bed to come talk about these things that I really do not care about? You know what I mean? But growing up now, I've understood the value of the things that he's talking about. I'm able to take care of my family now because he instilled those values in us. Not only did he instill it, but we saw him do it. We saw him do it on tough days. We saw him do it when we knew he didn't have nothing, but we saw him push through. We saw him do it even when, you know, like things weren't going the way he wanted it to. We saw him do it. But through it all, he made it clear that he was not a perfect man. I think that's what really separated it for us and made us understand life even more. We personally, I've had my own fair share, you know, of things in life, but you know, having that backbone of my father there, like literally has made life easier for me, because there's sometimes where I go through certain things and I remember some things that he said years ago, right? Years ago that I did not even understand, but now I do understand them. And you would think he's just saying things back then, but they stick with you forever, right? So that he's the first person that I'll give credit to. And wherever my father is, I honor him. Like I always say it, wherever I go, I honor that man, you know, every single where I stand. So
He sounds very intentional, man. Father sounds very intentional.
honestly, I cannot tell you, and I wish one of these days he could hop on the show with you guys and just give you an hour of what he has. And for me, one of the things that I told myself at a very young age, especially when I understood the value that he brought to my life as a son, I told myself that I will never let this man leave this earth without getting at least 50% of what he had in his mind. So every opportunity I get to soak in something from him, I literally grab it in a heartbeat. There are times where I call him, I have nothing important to talk about, but I'll just throw a random question at him just to see what he would say. And the things that I get from him, honestly, if I could have 50% of what he has in his mind, I will be okay in life. I guarantee you I will be okay in life. But you know, outside of Pops, there's been so many other leaders, and I can't even list them, right? And just like I said, I'm a student of life, right? It's one of the things that I say. I'm a student of life, and I learn from everyone. And literally, you could be a 6-year-old doing something, and I will learn from it. I'm like, hey, what did this young man do that set him up to be like this, right? You could be a 90-year-old, and I'll just want to like book an hour just to sit with you and talk about your life and your journey and how did you get here and all of that stuff, right? So there's been so many different mentors that has come my way over the years that I've been alive. So I've been truly grateful. But also like my pastor, my current Pastor Solomon, he's been another mentor for me. Just like I said, like all these leaders are not perfect people, but they're people that have modeled life in a way that it is you know, beautiful to learn, right? They show you the flaws, but they also show you what not to do, right? And they don't hide it. There are so many leaders that play perfect every single day, and that's not what we're called to do as a leader, right? And so they've opened up their spaces for me to see their vulnerable side a little bit and to show me that, hey, listen, like I'm not a perfect man, but I'm working towards being a better person every single day, just to be the best that I could be. So, yeah.
I appreciate that, man. That's powerful, man. Be a learner in life, right? Be a learner in life. You hear? I hope everybody's hearing that, man. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, let's break it down now. We're gonna ask you a question. Another question is, what are some of the tools that young minds need to be successful today? What are some of the tools that you think young minds need to be successful today? I think you said one already. Being a learner in life is definitely a key for young people now. Yeah.
Do you know what? One of the things that I find that our generation suffers from, I would say one of them is humility. And I think it's a skill, but it's a tool as well. If you're humble enough, you will learn so much. But also one of the things that I find in our generation is that there's a lack of discipline. Right? It's just and if we're speaking truth, not love base always open the door for us to speak the truth. So I'm never shy to be honest and to speak the truth. Our generation suffers from discipline. A lot of people lack discipline just because there have been forums that have been open and opportunities that have been created for people to have easy access to certain things. And if you don't, the easier you get something, the easier it could go as well. But people don't value certain things as well. So one of the things that I always tell, young people that come around me is that, discipline would open doors that talent would never know. Like discipline will open doors that, talent is not enough. But if you're disciplined, if you're humble enough, if you know how to adapt to situations, you would always keep the doors open. Right. So I'm going to rephrase it a little bit for it to make sense. And it's that discipline opens doors that talent never knew existed. And adaptability will keep those doors from ever closing. So if you're disciplined enough, you're going to get into those doors. But if you know how to adapt, if you know how to maneuver, if you know how to, know when to settle, know when to be humble, know when to say, hey, I think I might be able to be a great fit here. It's okay to do that. If you know when to do that, those doors will never close on you, right? So that's just something that I believe in wholeheartedly, right? And over the course of the years, the tools and things that have happened has changed so much. 10 years ago, the tools that used to work may not work today,
That's
right? But being able to adapt to whatever situation it is what's going to keep you still in that room, right? But if you fail to adapt, if you were in that 10-year-old generation, and you have failed to adapt to today's things, then guess what? Someone from today will come and take your spot, right? But discipline is the first thing. It will get you in the door, but being able to adapt will keep you in there forever. I'm sorry. So those are tools. So I always encourage people, master the craft of discipline. Like I don't care what it is. Be disciplined in brushing your teeth. It's as simple as that. But there are people that may be home and they're not leaving the house till the evening and they might not brush their teeth in the morning. That's not disciplined enough, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So be disciplined enough to do the little things. And then that will gradually lead to the bigger things. Because, scripture also tells us, if you can't handle little, God cannot trust you with more. So why would I trust you with $1 million business if you fail to be honorable in a $100 job? If you're not humble enough to stay, as an example, I did sanitation. I cleaned, food places. They did food processing plants. I did that for some time. And if you're not humble enough to bring yourself to that level to clean a food processing plant that stinks every single day, why would God trust you with $1 million business? You know what I mean? There are people that have made up their minds that they will never work at McDonald's. That is just a thing for people. They just want to be in the light. They want to be in the suit and tie. There is nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But sometimes if you're humble enough, right? If you're humble enough to just be in the little space, if you're humble enough to say, you know what, God, I don't know what you have for me tomorrow, but today, this is where I'm at. And I'm going to be a good steward of where I'm at. If you cannot do that, you will never be trusted with more, right? So that's the main tool that I would say people should practice: discipline. Be disciplined in the little things. Brush your teeth, right? That's one of them. Look at it as that. But also be aware, right? When I talk about awareness, I'm sorry, I had to cough.
All good.
When I talk about awareness, like it's like know your strengths, know where you fit in and know where you don't fit, right? It's one thing to be disciplined, but if you're disciplined and you're horrible at something, it's not going to reflect well, right? So be disciplined, but also be aware of who you are as a person. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm not good at. And what I'm not good at, I'm open to learn. But if you're not aware of who you are and what your strengths and your weaknesses are, there is no way you will be able to master that craft, right? There's absolutely no way. And the final thing, just like I mentioned before, be open to adapt. Things will always change. Situations will always change. Jobs will always change. People in your life will always change, right? But if you don't learn the skill of adaptation, then guess what? You will lose people, you will lose jobs, you will lose valuable relationships because you failed as a man or as a woman to adapt to people changing. The person that I was 10 years ago, I'm not the same person today. So if you're judging me by 10 year ago Prince, I'm sorry, you have the wrong version of me. You know what I mean? So you need to learn to adapt to who I am now. And if you fail to do that, hey, maybe we're not meant to be in the same bubble anymore. And that is okay as well, right? So those are the main, tools that I think, young people, like all of us, not just young people, but young and old, can learn, because there are older people even in our generation that fail to adapt to today's stuff. And they're suffering for it, unfortunately, right? They fail to adapt to, the way of raising kids now in our generation. There are people that are stuck in the 1800s. You know what I mean? Belt buckles still in 2025. I'm sorry, flipping slippers in 2025. There's nothing wrong with that. Once again, parent however you want to parent, but also learn to adapt to the communication styles of your children, adapt to, the way your kids even receive messages from you, because that's different. You know what I mean? My wife receives messages different from me than how my daughter receives messages from me. And that's very different, right? But if you fail to adapt, you're going to be stuck in 1800, and guess what? You cannot catch up today. So I'll leave it at that.
So let's can you tell us like a personal experience where you have had to adapt? Let's talk about that. Personal experience where you've had to adapt.
You know what? There's been so many different ones. There's been so many different ones. I got married at a very young age, right? I got married at the age, so I was engaged when I was 22.
Wow.
Yeah. I got married when I was 23. And this year, by the grace of God, is the third wedding anniversary for my wife and I. And you know what? I had to switch my mentality from a single man now, who is in his only place, to now having a family and having a wife to take care of and having a home to take care of and having kids to deal with now. I've had to adapt to that lifestyle. 5 years ago, no, I was a single man working, making my money, have a car, doing what I wanted to do. You understand what I mean? But now I'm in a different space. I have to adapt to my family. I have to adapt to my wife. I have to make sure my wife is good, taking care of every single day. I have to make sure my kids are good. There's food on the table. There's clothes under your back. These are things that I had to adapt to. Now, did it come easy? No. But being intentional changed everything for me. At a very young age, I knew that I don't want to live a nonsense life. Excuse my language, right? I don't want to live a nonsense life. You know what I mean? A life that has no meaning, a life that has no purpose. Young people, our generation nowadays say someone who just slings it. It's not for me. You get what I mean, right? So at a very young age, when I found this woman, I knew, you know how like people wait 8, 9, 10 years. I'm sorry. When they say when you know,
man.
You know. You know what I mean? Within few months, I already bought the ring. I knew what I wanted. I was like, yeah, you know what? This is the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. best decision that I ever made. You know what I mean? So that's one of the biggest things that I had to adapt to. But outside of that, even work environments, you know what I mean? I've had to adapt to different managers, different managing styles. Like I've had to adapt to like people that are responsive in coaching, people that are not responsive in coaching. In the creative space, I've had to adapt to different energies and different people and their communication style and how they do things. I've had to adapt. I've worked with so many different people, so many different organizations, so many different influencers that had different attitudes that you have to deal with on a daily basis. So how do you do it, right? So it's been like so many things, and even pivoting into business. There's so many things that I've had to adapt to, right? So those are just some of the things that I could have top of mind at the moment.
Okay, awesome. So we're talking about adaptability now. So this is the question here: how has AI changed or will shape the future of visual storytelling and digital media? Because we know that's one of the things that you are an expert at. How do you think AI has changed or will change and shape visual storytelling and digital media?
You know what? A lot of people are scared of AI.
Yeah.
I don't.
A whole lot of people are.
A whole lot of people, and I don't get why.
Mhm.
Once again, be able to adapt to what's happening in today. You know, don't live in yesterday, right? AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere, whether you like it or not, right? And a lot of people don't even think about this. You've been using Google Maps for how many years now? Do you think that Google Maps didn't run with AI those years back? How do you think you were able to get from point A to point B? No, AI has been there. It's just amplified now. You know what I mean? That's just literally what it is. It's always been there. It's been there for years now. They have just amplified it and taking it to the next level. So if you fail to include AI in your stuff, I'm sorry, buddy, you're gonna be behind, right? And one of the things that I say in my space specifically, a lot of people are scared because AI could generate some crazy images, some crazy videos, and all of that stuff. But I always tell people that, you know, AI can create all the images and stuff, but only humans could create impact. Think about that.
Yeah.
Like, you could create all the images, all the videos, the high-end 8K videos in seconds, but the impact is what you do as a human being. It's as simple as that. So AI is here to stay, but you have the power to use AI to make an impact in this world. So what do you choose to do? You know, technology can mimic our voices. Like I could literally do a voice memo, put it in some next AI thing, and it will recreate it, or even give me variations of whatever it is that I'm talking about. But it can never replace my conviction as a man. You know what I mean? So just get used to it, right? Like adapt, learn, be close to it, because it is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's just making life, in my opinion,
We're the
it
ones
makes
who
life.
create the impact. That's powerful. Yeah.
Honestly, you have the power to create that impact, right? Because they always say an image could tell 100 stories, right? But who's going to interpret that story? Who's really going to interpret that story for it to make sense and for it to bring it to that human level, right? And that's your job. So regardless of what happens in the AI space, I say, you know what, you don't have to be crazy about AI, but learn to live with it every single day. And I think the more you take steps in it, the more you try it out, the more you realize that it's actually making your life easy, you know, at the end of the day. So yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's really not going anywhere. But the authenticity and the value and the impact, it comes straight from you.
Yeah. I hear that. So on the lines of that conversation about visual storytelling and digital media, so where did your passion for visual storytelling and digital media come from? Because one side of you, you're in the business world, you're in the financial world, and then you got this digital storytelling and visual media. Tell us, how did that come about?
it's so interesting how my journey started, but it's also interesting how fast I grew in the space.
Mhm.
So, when COVID hit, right? When COVID hit, it was either, you know, our church died or we went online. Those were the only options that we had.
Mhm.
That's plain and simple. It's either you go online or you lose everyone and you just don't have a church anymore. So at that point, I remember praying a prayer and I was telling God, I'm like, hey, listen, like, I'm not perfect, God, but like, yo, I just want to help. I just want to be in a place where I could just help the church. That's all I wanted to do. And so little by little, I remember we started with an old iPad, like crappy iPad, bro. I'm talking like maybe 480p quality, not even 720, right? We started with a horrible iPad and, using data every single day and coming back and went to a phone. And then I remember we would record the audio separately and I have to come home. And while everybody's enjoying their day, I'm listening by ear, turning the slides until the audio matches the lip of the person. Took
Wow.
hours. Okay, the hours to do that. I would sit down just sliding. Oh, the lip is not syncing. Sometimes I got fed up. I'm like, yo, they'll take it however they want to take it. I just move on with my day. It was just too much, right? But that is where that started from. And that is why I always credit all the glory back to God. All my success that I have today, you know what I mean? Like, just like I said, I've shot with some insane people. I've shot for Lincoln, the car brand. I've shot for TD. You know what? I've worked with insane organizations, right? And I always attribute all that glory back to God because I'm like, yo, if God did not give me this gift, I did not go to school for it. I did not like, I don't have any, you know, video accreditation. Now I studied marketing, so that's my background, but I didn't go to film school. I didn't do none of that. But God, gave me that gift. And that is why I pour back into everyone now because I didn't pay for it. I got it for free. So who am I not to give it back to people? There are people, young people that come around me all the time and I give them opportunities. Come on set with me. I'm paying you to come on set with me. You know what I mean? You're learning, but you're getting paid. At the end of the day, you get what I mean, right? Because I got that gift for free. So now I have the opportunity to pass it on to someone else, right? So that is where the passion really started from. 1 second. But outside of that, I've had, you know, mentors in the creative space that groomed me to be the man that I am today. One of them, and I would say 80% of who Prince is in the creative space, or even I could attribute even more, or 80% of my company today, I could say that my brother-in-law Tristan was the one that helped me and held my hand in that state. He feels like he didn't do much. That's what he thinks, right? But I remember going on set with him for the first time and just watching him do what he does. Like, I remember calling him numerous times and be like, yo, I saw this video that you did. How did you do that movement? Like, I remember him teaching me how to balance a gimbal. Like, you know what I mean? All of these things. And today I can literally step into any space confidently and do what I want to do because I had someone in my corner that groomed me. You know what and I'm not prideful to say that it's my brother-in-law. It's literally my brother-in-law that held my hand through that space. You know what I mean? And sometimes, like, I've only been on set with him a handful of times, but some of the things that he even told me, it stayed with me forever. And those were the things that helped me to be in the space that I'm in today. You know what I mean? So a big shout out to my brother-in-law once again, Tristan. And I, just like I said earlier, if you're humble enough, like, I'm a nobody. You understand what I mean? I'm a nobody. I'm not from a millionaire family. I'm a nobody. Lived in Brampton, lived in Mississauga a bit. You know what I mean? I'm just a regular person that was just humble enough to say, hey, my brother, I saw you do this. Can you teach me how to do it? You get what I mean, right? And
you were willing to ask the questions. You were willing to ask those questions. Yeah.
that is all it is. And sometimes people can't put their pride aside to even ask their neighbor, because they feel like the neighbor will see them as less than. But no, I don't care. At the end of the day, I know the value that I'm gonna get. So I did not care. Put your pride aside and ask those questions. And when you do that, you realize that you're further in. Like, one of the things that see, whenever I see rich men, right? I've been in finance for years.
Mm-hmm.
When I see really wealthy men, I ask them questions, right? And one of the things that one of those men told me, he said that people overestimate what they could do in 1 year and underestimate what they could do in 5. And I asked him more. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Right. And he ended up telling me, deeper stories about people, because of their own pride reasons, rushing to do things in 1 year and thinking that they could make the most money within that 1 year. But if they humble themselves a little bit and actually learn slowly by slowly, they'll realize that they would make even more in 5 years than they made in that 1 year. You know what I mean? So it's just like, be humble enough to ask questions. It's as simple as that. I would not be where I am today if I didn't ask questions. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of like my journey so far. And now I'm just having fun. I'm just having fun in the creative space. That's all it is.
Awesome. That's awesome. What has been one of your most, out of all of your experiences with working with people, what has been one of your most memorable experiences working with a particular brand, working with what has been your most, the ones that you will never forget?
I would say getting the opportunity to produce content, like not even content, like an industry video for TD Bank.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that will never leave me. As a young man, I wouldn't say that I never dreamt that I would have big, clients like that. I wouldn't say that, because I always dream big, and I believe that, one of the things that I always tell people as well is that if I'm Christian, so I speak a certain way. If my God in heaven owns everything in this world, and I'm a son of God, what does that make me? A direct heir to the throne. That's one. But two, I could inherit everything my father has, right? So I have always believed that, hey, like, there's nothing in this world that I cannot achieve. And I wake up every single day with that mindset. I keep pushing towards that mark every single day, but having the opportunity to work with an organization like that, for me, I was like, whoa. Like, young man like me, hey, I'll take that as a big pat on the back. You know what I mean? So that was a big highlight. But also working for brands like Lincoln and shooting a partnership video with Lincoln. But I've shot so many things, like with so many influencers for so many different brands. And you know what? The more I shoot with these brands, the more I realize that they are just regular people that decided to do something. Mm-hmm. They weren't just people that didn't want to do anything. They were just regular people that woke up one day and decided, hey, I don't want to be regular. I just want to do something else. Right. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of the highlight of but every single day is a highlight for me anyways. I have so much fun.
That's good. That's good. They say, do what you love and you never work a day in your life, is what I've heard. Right.
I disagree with that though. You work every single day doing what you love.
Yeah.
You work every single day, and sometimes even more than doing what you hate. You know what I mean? So I agree, but I also sometimes think they could tweak that statement a bit.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. All right. So along those lines, man. So what does living in purpose, on purpose mean to you, Prince?
That is such an interesting question, because I think everything we've spoken about today has kind of alluded to that.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I think everybody has potential. That is just the truth. Everybody, every single person on this earth has potential, but potential without purpose is a waste. That it's literally void. You might as well just sit in bed all day, right? So purpose without, I would say this: purpose without action is potential that is wasted. Right? So you could know what your purpose is as well, but if there's no action backed up on it, I'm sorry, right? But I think it's important to figure out what you really love. Like, what is it that you were called to do? And I don't think sometimes people spend enough time asking themselves those questions. We sometimes run around doing everything else, but if we take a minute to sit down, is that what has God really, really called me to do? And sometimes it's not working in the big spaces. Sometimes it's as little as working with homeless kids. It's as little as talking to, broken women. It's as simple as talking to someone on the street. It's as simple as going out there in a cold winter and giving a homeless person a blanket. What is your purpose? What has God called you to do on this earth? And I think that's the biggest question. But the one thing that I always tell people as well, if you understand your purpose, right, and you live your purpose intentionally, you will leave a legacy. But if you understand your purpose and you're not intentional about it, you will never leave a legacy. You will not be remembered for anything that you did, even though you knew what your purpose was, right? So have a purpose, know what you're called to do. That's one. But two, you know what? Just be intentional about where you've been called to serve. And the moment you do that, you will realize that you're leaving a legacy behind. It would suck for me to leave this earth and not be remembered by anything. That is potential wasted. That is exactly what it is. That is potential wasted. And I remember hearing something. I read a lot and I listen to a lot of people. And I think one of the things that I heard that, the graveyard or the cemetery has a higher net worth than the world, or whatever the case was. I don't remember the exact wording. But if you really think about it, it stands true. Because there are so many people that had so many gifts. There were so many people that had purpose hidden in them. But the failure to take action on their purpose landed them somewhere else. And now all the things that God put in them is now in the cemetery. So now they're making the net worth of the cemetery heavier than earth. So as you're living now, my question is, what exactly are you doing on your line of purpose? And what is that? And if you haven't identified it yet, well, maybe I think you should have a seat with yourself and ask yourself, what has God really called me to do in this world? And remember that it might not be glamorous. It might be the nastiest job. But if you're humble enough to do it, you will leave a legacy. There are people called literally just to clean the church. That's people's calling. Like literally, that's someone's calling, to clean a space. That's it. But if you're humble enough to do that, you will be remembered as that person that cleaned the church. That's a legacy that will never be forgotten. And generations will come and they will always say, oh, Miss A and Miss B, that's their grandson. That's your great grandchild. It's because a legacy was left behind for you to carry on, right? So just figure out what your purpose is, but also do not waste your potential, right? And live intentionally.
Yeah. And what would you say is being like, give me an example of what is being intentional with your purpose look like? What does that look like?
Do you know what? So if you are called to serve underprivileged kids, right? And the reason why I get passionate about this, see, I love Love Bay so much. One of the things that they do every single year is they give back to people that are going to school that didn't have the opportunity to pay for it themselves. You know what? That is something that is so heartless. Like, you know what? I struggled to pay my way through school. And that's just the truth. Like I always tell people, just like I told you, I would work sanitation. I had an 8 a.m. class, or work from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And then I had an 8 a.m. class. Like, it's just, so I know what it's like to be paying ridiculous fees and working at night and having to go into an 8 a.m. class. I remember at a point I'll be in class. I haven't paid my fees. And my professor would ask, hey, Prince, I don't see your name on here. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to go downstairs and go see what's going on. But I knew that I haven't paid the fees. I knew. But I was sitting in the class still soaking in whatever I needed to soak in. You know what I mean? So I understand. So when people decide, hey, like, listen, every year they could choose not to. They could choose to keep the money in their business and do what they want with the money. But no, instead of that, they give it out back to people. That is intentional living. You know what I mean? That is intentional living. right? I could do anything else. You know what? This is what I would say. Living your purpose intentionally is what you do in spite of what people see. So
Like
it's not what you do when everybody is watching. It's what you do when people are not watching. That is how you be intentional. That is how you really live a life of purpose. There are people that do things, they know what their purpose is, but they want to be show-offs. They want everyone to see that, oh, I've been called to do this, but I want everyone to see that this is what I'm doing. Right? Once again, to each his own. But I think what you do in the dark, what you do when nobody is watching, it is worth way more than what is really visualized in front of everyone.
Yeah. That's powerful. Yep. That's really shining your light, regardless of who's watching and who's not watching. That's truly shining your light. Yeah. And living in purpose, on purpose, man.
Absolutely.
Man, we thank you, Prince, man. You've been dropping gems this whole time. Definitely, folks, you need to watch this again tomorrow at 12 to take this in. This is not an episode you just watch once. You got to watch this twice, 3 times, and bring a pen and a notepad to write down all these good things that Prince has been sharing with us, man. Yeah, so we thank you for being here on Love Bay Radio on the Champions Table. And as we say every time, is men talk, women talk, but the truth can't lie, and the truth will set you free. Thank you for joining us, Prince. Thank you for being here with us, man. And Love Bay family, we thank you once again. Take care. God bless.